With the name of Allah, the most merciful and beneficent. Assalamu alaikum. I am your instructor, Ms. Saida Sidra from Department of Chemistry. Today is our fourth lecture from Liquids chapter. In previous lecture, we have completed different physical properties like, for example, boiling point, evaporation and vapor pressure. We are left with two physical properties, viscosity and surface tension. In today's lecture, we will cover these two properties and rest of the topic from this chapter, inshallah. So, starting with the viscosity. What does this term viscosity means? If we define the viscosity, it is the resistance to the flow of liquid. We call this as viscosity. If we look at our daily life and we compare different liquids, like for example, if we compare water and honey, water is having less viscosity as compared to the honey. We can pour water from one container to the other container easily and in less time as compared to the honey, because viscosity of water is less as compared to the viscosity of honey. Water is less viscous than honey. If we have different liquids and the liquids having larger viscosity, having greater viscosity, so their flow will be less. They move slowly as compared to the less viscous liquids. This viscosity measures that how easily molecules they slide by one another. That as we have seen in the structure of liquids, that the molecules, they are not closely packed as such in solids, but they are in close contact with each other. So this viscosity, it also measures that how easily molecules they slide by one another. Just have a look at this figure. In this figure we have compared water with the honey. That flow of water will be easy as compared to the honey, because the viscosity of this honey is rather more as compared to the water. This water flows and fills up the glass faster than honey, because the viscosity of water is less as compared to the viscosity of honey. In order to understand the viscosity, we have considered a liquid flowing in a tube, which is made up of series of concentric circular layers. Basically, why this resistance is there? What causes this resistance on the flow of liquid? This resistance to the flow of liquid is basically due to the internal friction between the layers of the molecule. Just have a look at this, that the layers adjacent to the wall of this tube, they have less velocity as compared to the layers present at the center. So each of these different layers present in a tube, they exert a force on one another and thus causes resistance to flow. So layers adjacent to the walls, they have less velocity, while layers present at the center, they have more velocity. And this resistance is basically due to the internal friction present between these layers. Units. In SI units, the unit of viscosity is Pascal second, and 1 Pascal second is equals to 1 kilogram per meter per second, which is equal to 10 poise. In non-SI units, SI unit stands for System International Units. In non-SI units, we have the unit of viscosity, which is poise, and 1 poise is equals to 0.1 kilogram per meter per second. So if we recall this, that what is viscosity? It is resistance to the flow of liquid. So liquids having more viscosity, so their flow will be less as compared to the liquids having less viscosity. And it measures what? It measures that how easily molecules they can slide on one another present in that particular liquid. Water is less viscous as compared to the honey. So the flow of honey will be less as compared to the water. And we have also explained this with the help of a liquid flowing in a tube, and what is the basic reason behind this viscosity, behind this resistance. It is basically the internal friction present between the layers of liquid molecules. Now we will discuss the factors affecting viscosity. Viscosity depends on the following factors: molecular shape and size, intermolecular forces, and temperature. We will discuss all these three one by one. Starting with the molecular shape and size. Viscosity is greatly affected by molecular shape and size. Liquids having compact and small molecules, they will have low viscosity. And examples we have water, benzene, and methanol. While liquids having large and irregularly shaped molecules, they will have high viscosity. And examples we have honey and glycerine. So there are basically two important things, that liquids having compact and small molecules, so their viscosity will be less. So due to their compact nature and small molecules, the flow of liquid will be easier as compared to the liquids having irregularly shaped and the large molecules. Such liquids having irregularly shaped molecules, they will have high viscosity, so their flow will not be easier as compared to these liquids. And examples we have honey and glycerine. The next factor we have intermolecular forces. Liquids having stronger intermolecular forces, they will have high viscosity. Means due to the strong intermolecular forces, their molecules, they are not as such free, so their flow will be less, so their viscosity will be higher. For example, water is more viscous than methanol due to the hydrogen bonding. In previous slides, we have compared water with honey, that in those slides water is less viscous as compared to the honey. But if we compare water with the methanol, so water is more viscous as compared to methanol due to the presence of strong intermolecular forces like hydrogen bonding in water. And the third factor we have temperature factor, that what will be the effect of temperature on viscosity. So if we increase the temperature, what happens? That upon increasing the temperature, molecules, they move faster. Why they move faster? Because their kinetic energy increases. So due to the increase in kinetic energy, it in turn decreases the intermolecular forces. So temperature increases, viscosity decreases. If we compare this thing, that hot liquids are less viscous than cool liquids. If we compare only one liquid in their hot and cold state, so in hot liquids they are less viscous because we have increased the temperature, molecules gain kinetic energy, their intermolecular forces decreases, so their viscosity will be less. In your book, there is a box given just adjacent to this, factors affecting viscosity. Do you know? In this box they have written this thing, that in winter the viscosity of blood increases due to cold, the arteries and veins of human body contracts and become hard and their diameter decrease. As a result, the flow of blood and blood pressure is affected. On sitting before fire, the viscosity of blood decreases and its circulation increases. So the man becomes normal. Just have a look at this graph, that with increase in temperature, viscosity decreases. That as we increase the temperature, then viscosity will be decreased. So that's all about the viscosity. We have discussed the general introduction and the factors affecting the viscosity in detail. Now the next topic we have surface tension. Just have a look at this figure. That have you ever observed this thing? That what is the basic reason behind this thing, that the insects, they can walk on the surface of the water? What causes this? What is the basic reason behind this? That the surface of this water, it acts like a stretched membrane. What is the reason behind this? The reason behind this is basically the surface tension. Now we will explain the surface tension in detail. Have a look at this figure. That this is basically what? This is liquid and the surface of the liquid. The molecules present within the liquid, they are surrounded by liquid molecules and in all directions. So the force exhibited by such molecules is balanced in all directions, while the molecules present at the surface, they are different from the molecules present within the liquid. What's the reason behind this? That the molecules present at the surface, they are attracted by the force in unequal directions, because this molecule is surrounded by the molecules beside these molecules, and we have these molecules just under this molecule. We don't have any water molecule present above this molecule. So the force acting on this molecule will be an unbalanced force, which causes this to pull downward towards the interior of this medium. And what are these forces? These are the cohesive forces to the neighboring molecules. So the nature of the molecules present at the surface will be different from the nature of the water molecules or liquid molecules present within this liquid medium. So due to this inward force, the surface will act as a membrane, and the molecules present at the surface, they feel a net attraction towards inside of this liquid, and that net attraction will be what? It is surface tension. We can define the surface tension in different ways. That what is surface tension? The force in dynes acting at a right angle on a unit length of a surface of a liquid is called as surface tension. If we have a molecule inside a liquid medium, and that molecule, it wants to come to the surface, so it must overcome the attraction forces which are directing downward. It means that it has to do some work to pull it to the surface. So therefore, increasing surface area of a liquid means it requires an energy. Some work has to be done in order to move the molecule from interior of a liquid to the surface. So the surface tension can also be defined in this way, that the amount of energy required to expand the surface of a liquid by unit area. Due to the unbalanced force acting on the liquid molecules present at the surface, the molecules present at the surface, they are less stable as compared to those present within the liquid. So surface molecules, they are less stable. So when the liquid will be stable? When we have less molecules at the surface. Liquid will be more stable when less molecules are present at the surface. So liquids having minimum surface area will be more stable. Spheres have less area per unit volume than any other shape. So therefore the small drops of a liquid tend to be spherical. If you just look at this figure, that the small drop of a liquid will attain the form of a sphere, because in this sphere structure it will be more stable, because less molecules they are present at the surface, so the liquid will be more. So liquid attains the stability form, so the spherical form will be more stable. Now we will discuss the factors affecting the surface tension. We will discuss 3 different factors: intermolecular forces, temperature and nature. First, intermolecular forces. If we have strong intermolecular forces, then surface tension will be more. Why surface tension will be more? That the molecules, they are held closer together with the strong intermolecular forces, so greater will be the surface tension. Surface tension of water is higher than many other liquids just because of hydrogen bonding present in it. Temperature effect. If we increase the temperature, surface tension decreases. Why surface tension decreases with the increase in temperature? If we increase temperature, molecule moves faster, they gain kinetic energy, which in turn decreases the intermolecular forces, and decrease in intermolecular forces means that the surface tension decreases. Third, we have nature. That the surface tension will be different for different liquids. It depends upon the nature of the intermolecular forces present in that particular liquids. What are the units of surface tension? That the SI unit of surface tension is joules per square meter or Newton per meter. And that's all about the viscosity and surface tension. We have completed the physical properties of liquids. The next topic we have anomalous behavior of water. That why water does not expand like many other substances. That the most common liquid, the water, its behavior is different from the other liquids. That when we increase the temperature, expansion of liquids takes place. So above about 4 degrees Celsius, water expands as we increase the temperature like any other liquid. But between 0 degree to 4 degrees Celsius, what happens? That instead of expanding, the water contracts with increasing temperature from 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. In your book they have mentioned 3.98 degrees Celsius, so it's okay. So at this temperature, the density of water is maximum. At 4 degrees Celsius, the water is having maximum density. So at any other temperature, the density of water is less than this maximum value. Water is more dense at this 4 degrees Celsius as compared to any other temperature. So the surface of the bonds, they freezes, while the lower water will remain in the liquid state. Just have a look at this figure, that the unusual or anomalous behavior of this water. that if we have this 27 degrees Celsius and we decrease the temperature, so basically what will be there? Contraction will be there upon decreasing the temperature. So from 27 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius, contraction will be normal. It's a normal behavior. But what happens when the temperature it decreases from 4 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius? What happens? Instead of contraction, there will be expansion observed in this behavior of water. So this will be the unusual behavior of this water. Why there will be this unusual behavior of this water? That in this, if we convert the water from the liquid state to the solid state, means ice water at 0 degree centigrade, it will be converted into the ice. And we are quite familiar with this thing, that what type of intermolecular forces we have in the water molecules. We have hydrogen bonding present in the water molecules. In liquid water, what happens? We have unstable and irregularly formed hydrogen bonds. They are not placed regularly. But upon freezing, what happens? The molecules, they form the stable hexagonal crystal lattice structure. That in ice, the hydrogen bonds, they are stable and they have open hexagonal structure. So the spaces present between these hydrogen bonds, these water molecules, they increases. In ice, there will be 9% increase in volume just because of their open hexagonal structure. So as water freezes, the hydrogen bonds push the water molecules farther apart from each other, and increasing the intermolecular spaces results in their expansion. So this is the reason that as we move from 4 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius, so instead of contraction, expansion takes place. Why expansion takes place? Because of increase in the volume, because of the open hexagonal structure. 9% increase in spaces, intermolecular spaces takes place in ice as compared to the liquid water. So this water present at the surface, it freezes, while the lower water will remain as a liquid, and then this ice will act as a blanket to the water environment. So this thick blanket of ice, it is acting as a survival medium for the fish and plants present in the water medium. So this is the anomalous behavior of the water, that instead of contracting, moving from 4 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius, there will be an expansion observed in the water molecules just because of the increase in the intermolecular spaces. And how much increase? 9% increase in the intermolecular spaces present between the water molecules, and hydrogen bonds will be arranged regularly and they will have open hexagonal structure. So ice is less dense than water and it will float at the surface of water and act as an insulated layer to the rest of the water medium. That's all about the anomalous behavior of water. Next we have that the concept of hydrogen bonding to explain the properties of water, that how this hydrogen bonding will be responsible for different properties of water. First we have high surface tension. Surface of water will act like a stretch membrane due to the high surface tension, and that high surface tension is basically due to the hydrogen bonding present in water molecules. This is the force acting on the surface which acts downward due to the strong hydrogen bonding. And due to strong hydrogen bonding, water will exhibit high surface tension. If we compare the value of surface tension of water with the different liquids, we will observe this thing that the water will have high surface tension value as compared to the other different liquids due to the hydrogen bonding present in it. Just have a look at this table given in your book, that water is having 7.275 Newton per meter surface tension as compared to the all other different organic solvents. This is just because of the hydrogen bonding present in water. Next we have high specific heat. What is specific heat? It is the quantity of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of the substance by 1 degree Celsius. And the specific heat of water is 4.180 joule per gram per degree Celsius, which is much higher than those of the metals. Water exhibits the high specific heat value just because of the hydrogen bonding present in it. If we compare the water with the iron, so it almost takes 10 times more heat to raise the temperature of 1 gram of the water by 1 degree Celsius as compared to raise the temperature of 1 gram of the iron by 1 degree Celsius. And oppositely, much heat will be given off even by a small drop of temperature of water. So due to this property, water acts as a giant heat reservoir in order to moderate the daily temperatures present in different environments. So the environment present near the lakes, ponds and different water bodies, it is moderate as compared to the environment present on the interior of the land. This is just because of this property, high specific heat of the water, which is basically due to the hydrogen bonding present in it. And the third we have high heat of vaporization. Water has high heat of vaporization just because of the extensive hydrogen bonding present in it. So due to this, large amount of heat is required in order to evaporate even a small amount of the water. If we consider the perspiration example, that a lot of heat can be dissipated from the body even by the evaporation of small amount of the water from the body. And this property of water, high heat of vaporization of water, it also accounts for the climate modifying properties of lakes and oceans. And the fourth we have high boiling point. Due to hydrogen bonding, water has the high boiling point. Boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius at 1 atmospheric pressure. If we compare the boiling point of the water with the rest of the different organic solvents, like for example we have benzene, which is having 50 degrees Celsius, and ether having 40 degrees Celsius boiling point, which is much lower than that of this water. So all of these different properties, high surface tension, high specific heat, high heat of vaporization, high boiling point, all these properties, they are basically due to the hydrogen bonding present in the water molecules. And this hydrogen bonding will be responsible for the different properties, for the different modifying properties of the water molecules present in it. Next topic we have energetic of phase changes. Whenever there will be a phase change, whether it is physical or chemical change, it is followed by the energy change. And if we talk about the physical change in energy is basically the quantitative measurement of the strength of intermolecular forces present in it. Here there will be intermolecular force. I have written intermolecular process. So the physical change will be the measurement of the strength of intermolecular forces. If we measure the energy change at constant pressure, it is called as enthalpy change, which is denoted by delta H, and it is expressed in kilojoule per mole. And whenever a substance undergoes a phase change means that solid into liquid or liquid into gas, that one state of matter is converted into the other state, so its temperature remains constant. Here we will discuss different phase changes like molar heat of fusion, molar heat of vaporization, and molar heat of sublimation one by one. What is molar heat of fusion? Molar heat of fusion is basically the amount of heat required to convert 1 mole of a solid into its liquid state at its melting point. So molar heat of fusion will be the amount of heat required for the conversion of solid into its liquid state, and that will be the 1 mole of solid. It is basically represented at delta HF, F for fusion, and water is having molar heat of fusion. For the water we will have plus 6.02 kilojoule per mole. This plus indicates what? That this plus indicates that amount of heat, this amount of heat is absorbed. And the reaction we have that this S in the subscript, it represents the solid state, that the water in solid state is converted into water in liquid state. So and the molar heat of fusion for this reaction will be equals to plus 6.02 kilojoule per mole. Next we have molar heat of vaporization. As the name indicates, the heat of vaporization will be the amount of heat required to convert 1 mole of a liquid into its vapor state at its boiling point. In fusion, we have discussed the conversion of solid into liquid state, while here in vaporization, we will discuss the conversion of 1 mole of a liquid into its vapor state at its boiling point. And it is represented with delta HV, and water has the molar heat of vaporization value. It is equivalent to plus 40.7 kilojoule per mole. That this much amount of heat will be absorbed. In the reaction we have that the water in liquid state is converted into gaseous state, means into its vapor state. And the third one we have molar heat of sublimation. What is sublimation process? That the direct conversion of solid into vapors is termed as sublimation. And what is molar heat of sublimation? The amount of heat required or absorbed when 1 mole of a solid it sublimes to give vapor at a particular temperature at 1 atmospheric pressure. Here we will take the example of iodine, and it is represented as delta HS. F for fusion, V for vaporization, S for sublimation, and iodine will have molar heat of sublimation value plus 41.80 kilojoule per mole. And reaction we have that iodine is converted from solid state into its gaseous state or vapor state. Next we will have the energy changes and intermolecular forces. If we discuss about the melting of a solid, if melting of a solid takes place, so very small change will occur in their intermolecular distance and potential energy. But in comparison to the melting of solids, evaporation of a liquid, when evaporation of a liquid takes place, the atoms, molecules and ions, they undergo a large change in their intermolecular distance and their potential energy. So therefore, the molar heat of vaporization is much greater as compared to the molar heat of fusion values. We will discuss different examples. First, we will discuss about the heat of fusion values for different compounds. Like for example, we have water, ammonia and carbon dioxide. Here we have concluded this thing, that we will observe a large change in their intermolecular distance and potential energy when we will discuss the evaporation of a liquid or the molar heat of vaporization. Molar heat of vaporization values for all these different compounds are given in your book. That the delta HV value for water given in your book, it is 40.6 kilojoule per mole at 373.15 Kelvin. But the heat of fusion value for water is how much? It is 6.02 kilojoule per mole at 273.15 Kelvin. And the molar heat of vaporization value for ammonia given in your book, it is 23.35 kilojoule per mole at 239 Kelvin. But the heat of fusion value for ammonia is 6.652 kilojoule per mole at 195.4 Kelvin. And the last one, we have carbon dioxide. Molar heat of vaporization value for this carbon dioxide given in your book, it is 25.23 kilojoule per mole at 194.5 Kelvin, while the molar heat of fusion value for carbon dioxide is 8.33 kilojoule per mole at 217.0 Kelvin. So from these values we can also conclude this thing, that the heat of vaporization values for all of these different compounds will be more as compared to the heat of fusion values. Next example, we have iodine examples. As the iodine is rather more volatile, so heat of the sublimation value for iodine will be 41.80 kilojoule per mole at 458.4 Kelvin. As compared to the other halogens, the heat of vaporization of bromine, which is equals to 29.4 kilojoule per mole at 332.4 Kelvin. And chlorine and fluorine will also have these values. So iodine, due to its volatile nature, its heat of sublimation value will be more as compared to the all other halogens. And this shows that the heat of vaporization of iodine is the highest because of the strong intermolecular forces than the other halogens present in it. As we have discussed earlier, if you remember in the polarizability topic, that what kind of intermolecular forces are present in these different types of halogens. We have discussed this thing in detail, that the London dispersion forces, they are present in the halogens. And as we move down the group, their polarizability increases and the extent of London dispersion forces increases in the halogens. And just because of the increase in the intermolecular forces, the heat of sublimation value for the iodine will be rather more as compared to the other halogens of group 7 elements. Next, a short topic we have, the dynamic equilibrium between two physical states. What is dynamic equilibrium? It is basically a situation when two opposite changes occur and vice versa. Means that solid, it can be converted to liquid, and liquid, it can be converted back into solid at the same temperature, or liquid converted into gas, and gas can be converted into liquid at the same temperature. The system moves towards the condition of dynamic equilibrium. We will take the example of an ice. Consider ice at 0 degrees Celsius. It exists in dynamic equilibrium with liquid water at 0 degrees Celsius because both are existing at the same time. And the last topic from this chapter, we have liquid crystals. In history of this liquid crystal, in 1888, an Austrian botanist, Reinitzer, found that when he heated this cholesterol benzoate, it shows two melting points. That when he heated this cholesterol benzoate, first it it is converted into a milky solution at 145.5 degrees Celsius. Upon further heating this, it becomes clear at 178.5 degrees Celsius. When this clear liquid again is cooled, the reverse will happen. So this milky or turbid liquid is called as what? Liquid crystal. The liquid crystal, it exists at two different temperatures, that is melting temperature and clear temperature. It is basically a form of the matter which is having an intermediate properties between liquid and solid crystals. It has the same properties of like liquids, like viscosity and surface tension. If we define the liquid crystals, so we can define it in this way, that is substance which can flow like a liquid and also have some properties of liquids within a certain range. They are called as what? Liquid crystals. The another definition of liquid crystals we have, that the intermediate phase lying between the solid phase and the normal liquid phase is called as what? Liquid crystal. So the milky or turbid state is termed as liquid crystals. What are their uses in daily life? We have different uses of liquid crystals in daily life. We can use them as temperature sensors in thermometers, as a point of potential failure in biomedical applications, in display and in LCD. We will discuss these one by one, that how they can be used as temperature sensors. Liquid crystals can be used as temperature sensors because they change their color with the change in temperature. They are used to monitor temperature changes when conventional methods they are not feasible. For example, they can be used in thermometers for measuring the temperatures of infants by placing these liquid crystals on their skin embedded in the thermometer. Some of the modern thermometers, they also contain these liquid crystals with suitable temperature range. As the temperature changes, as the temperature shows the variation, so the liquid crystal shows different colors. They can be used as a locator of potential failure in the microelectronic circuits. In biomedical application, they are used to locate veins, arteries and tumors. And this technique can be helpful in diagnosis of breast tumor, that they can be painted on the surface of the breast, so tumors, it will show up as a hot area which is having blue color. So these liquid crystal also has important biomedical applications. Liquid in display, that the liquid crystal can be used in the display of numbers and letters of electrical devices such as digital watches, calculators and computers. And the last one we have, that liquid crystals, they can be used in LCD screens of oscillographs and TV. So liquid crystals, they have vast application in our daily life. So all these are the different applications of liquid crystal in daily life. We can use them in temperature sensors, thermometers, as a point of potential failure, biomedical applications in display and LCD. And the last one we have, that how we can differentiate liquid crystals from pure liquids and crystalline solids. Liquid crystal is basically a state of matter which is in between pure liquid and crystalline solid. It is an intermediate state between both of these. That liquid crystal lies between pure liquid and crystalline solids. Some of the properties of these liquid crystals, they resembles the crystalline solid. For example, the optical properties of liquid crystals, they resembles the crystalline solids. A crystalline solid, it can be isotropic and anisotropic, but liquid crystals, they are always isotropic. And pure liquids remain as such. What does these terms mean, isotropic and anisotropic? Isotropic substances are basically those which shows the same properties in all directions, while anisotropic substances are those which shows different properties in different directions. Crystalline solid, they can be isotropic and anisotropic, but liquid crystals, they are always isotropic. And that's all about the lecture related to the liquids. Here's the end of this liquid chapter. In next lecture, inshallah, we will discuss about the exercise and we will start the next chapter, solids. Take good care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.